Then there was a horrific explosion that seemed to lift the ship out of the water. They torpedoed us in one last attempt to sink us. Many of us received brain concussions in those blasts. There was a 35-foot hole in the side of the ship. And all we could think about was why an ally would be doing this to us. We also couldn't figure why no one came to help. We did not know this, but the USS Saratoga had started to send aircraft, but then they were ordered back to their ship. We were all alone with a damaged ship and more wounded than able-bodied. The dead were put in their food lockers, and most of the wounded were laid out in the mess decks. Those unhurt were trying to put out fires, tend to the wounded, or keep the ship afloat. The captain was also wounded and was doing his best to keep the ship afloat and moving towards safety. I was lucky in that I was sedated enough to kind of sleep through the night, but I still could see in my mind's eye what happened. The next morning, help finally arrived, and there were sounds of helicopters hovering around, hoisting litters and taking wounded to the aircraft carriers and some to cruisers. It's funny how the sound of helicopters never leave you. It's easier now than helicopters are different than back then. They sound different and don't bother me now. When I finally got back to the States, I was sent to a naval hospital in New York. They decided to leave that piece of shrapnel in my spine alone because they were sure it would work its way out, and that would be safer than trying to remove it. When I woke up from surgery in that hospital, I could not believe the horror that awaited me. Not my own wounds, rather it was the sights and the smells of the wounded all around me. I could smell the meat. It took me years before I would smell any raw meat without having flashbacks. And those images still haunt me to this day. Because of the cover-up of the Liberty attack, I was quickly isolated from the other men. I was visited by men in suits and told I was not to tell anyone about what happened on the Liberty. This was under threat of imprisonment or worse. I spent 2 years in that hospital recovering and then undergoing rehabilitation for my spinal injury. I kept that secret for over 30 plus years. I'm not sure anyone can fully appreciate the isolation, pain, and unresolvable trauma caused by the cover-up of the USS Liberty attack. My parents, my comrade, my friends, even my first wife never knew what I had seen and what I had been through. When I finally could tell people about the incident, most had never heard of it. How could that be? There is much to my PTSD. Part is the disappointment in my own government and what I consider a cover-up to protect an ally and to save votes and face. This has led to my distrust about a lot of things. The government, doors and windows not being locked, people not telling me the truth. I also dealt with depression, anger, and rage, which probably contributed to my divorce from my first wife. The nightmares still come and go. I still remember that dead guy on the deck next to me, and I still hear the sounds and feel the fear. I still jump at the sound of a jet when it screams by, and I'm not ready for it. Those are all part of my PTSD, but also a part of my life, and I've lived with it for so long. Dr. Henderson showed me my brain scan. He said it showed a concussed brain, chronic post-concussive syndrome, and PTSD, he called it. He offered the infrared light treatment and explained how it all worked. Bill never received the appreciation of his nation or his countrymen for his sacrifice. He suffered in silence for 30 years because he was forbidden to talk about the source of his emotional and mental trauma. Moreover, his brain injury was never recognized. Since the symptoms of TBI and PTSD have such large overlap, the Veterans Administration often only recognizes one of them. Indeed, the VA recently admitted that it misdiagnosed TBI in over 25,000 veterans. So Bill, like so many other veterans, went undiagnosed and untreated. It's time to right a long-standing wrong. And today we want to honor this American hero. We want to acknowledge his personal sacrifice and his physical and emotional injuries. Would you all please stand and join me in giving a well-deserved and long overdue round of applause to retired U.S. Navy Petty Officer William B.
Sure. First off, I'm really not a hero. Just happened to survive, that's all. I did live with this for a long time, and I'm still living. And it's been tough. When I first started going to see Ted, we really didn't know what was really going on with me. And when he suggested I have a brain scan, I was really surprised at what came out of it. And so he suggested that we try this treatment. And to be quite honest, I was really skeptical because I didn't think anything could do anything about that kind of trauma to the brain. So we went ahead and did it, and I wasn't feeling any different. I just, halfway through, I still didn't feel any different. I didn't know how I was supposed to feel, or what I was supposed to feel. And so we continued with the treatments, and then all of a sudden, one day when I was doing the treatment, there was this strange sensation. I could see the light, but not through my eyes. I could see it through my brain, which was really odd. And you lost me. There we are. They could see this light through my brain and not through my eyes because they had these kind of goggle things over my eyes. And the sensations that you get when you go through this treatment are kind of nice. It's a warm sensation and quite pleasant. And when you get done, you feel tired. I'm not quite sure what that's all about, but you feel tired and you're comfortable. But that light sensation was really the thing that I think turned me around as to my thinking about what this treatment was doing. So after about 10 treatments, pardon me, we decided that was going to do it for me. And I still didn't know how it affected me. And so I had, all of a sudden, people were telling me, God, you look better, and your attitude is good, your depression is gone, your talks of suicide are gone, and you seem to have a better recall of words and so forth. And I think that was kind of an enlightening thing for me. And I do believe that this kind of treatment is something that really needs to be talked about and spread out among the public, I think the veterans, police, sports athletes, I think they need to be looking deeply into this and using it more. And really, that's about all I have to say about it.